Hello creative friends, this is Joy. So today I decided to do an owl drawing painting on this watercolor background. These are some drawings of animals that I've been doing. I guess it's turning into like a series on some watercolor backgrounds that I created a while ago. So I'll put links to how I created these watercolor backgrounds and also a portfolio that I created to keep all of my these drawings in, and so you guys can see that if you haven't seen those videos yet. So basically I'm just trying to quickly do a pencil sketch of the owl to get the shape of it, the placement of the eyes and the beak, and a couple of the features on the face on this watercolor background, so that way I have something, to I can get all the proportions correct. And then I grab my pen and start going over that and drawing in the owl that I wanted to put on here. And I pretty much use the pen for the most of the black on this owl, but then I do go over some of the black areas with black watercolor paints just to deepen the color, because like in the pupils of the eyes it's not as black as I would have liked, and so I do go over that with like the black watercolor paint, so that way that they're a lot more black. But some of it I don't like. On the beak, I like the variation that I can get in the beak with the using the pen, where I can have lighter areas and darker areas. And then, of course, I use the pen to put in some of the other facial features on the owl. And so that's what I'm doing here, just trying to do the sketch of the owl using my pen to begin with. And this is the same way that I've been starting all of these drawings, and then adding in where there's shadows and darker areas on the owl, just to kind of start the shading in of some of those areas. But if you've been following me, then you know that I did the Inktober in October, and I did like an animal drawing a day for the 31 days, and I really liked doing it, and it was a lot of fun. But the drawings were just plain pen and ink kind of drawings, no coloring, no nothing. And some of the drawings that I did, I felt like would have looked better with some color. And so I decided I wanted to continue trying to, draw animals, but I wanted to then add color. So this was, what I came up with, where I was like, oh, it'd be fun to do some kind of nice watercolor background and then draw the animals on that and then color them in. And I've just been having a lot of fun with this, process. And so, yeah, it's been fun. So I continue to use my pen on the owl to add in features. And this here, I don't know what kind of an owl it is. I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure. Some of you might know what kind of an owl, but he's like a speckled owl. He's got different colors in him, which I guess if I was going to, you know, do an owl, which I've been wanting to do a drawing of an owl, you think I would pick something that, is a little bit more easier and simplified instead of one that has a bunch of different colors. It almost reminds me of like a calico cat, because it has white and browns and black, and yeah, he's definitely a colorful owl. So then I grab my watercolor pens and then start to go over this with my watercolor pens, coloring him and shading him in. And I just bought these watercolor pens like not very long ago, and I've been really enjoying using them on all of these little paintings that I've been doing of animals, and yeah, they've been a lot of fun. And so I'm continuing just to go around and add coloring to the owl as a base, and leave some areas where where I know it's going to be white. I don't want to cover up those areas, although I did cover up more than I wanted to down the center of his chest there. It was all white, and so I went a little too far with that color, but oh well. I ended up, in the end, it ended up turning out okay. And plus, I'm not trying to exactly match my reference photo. I mean, the reference photo is like, you know, the full body of the owl, and he's in a tree and everything. And so I just decided to do the face of the owl instead of, the whole thing. And here I'm using light gray to add a little bit more shadowing to the owl. And here is where I, use a darker gray to darken up some of the black features on the owl. And then I use the black here in a little bit for his eye, the pupils in his eyes, because I wanted those really dark. And his ears, or I guess that's what you call them, I don't know what you call them, reminds me of, you know, ears for more like a bear or something. It's funny how he's got fuzzy ears or like that. They might not even call them ears on owls. I don't know. It looks like ears. But I'm continuing, to use this gray just to add variations and variety in the owl, because I didn't want it all like just one flat color, and plus it was a good color for to add a little bit more shading and shadowing. And then here I used the black because the black was a little too harsh in some areas, so I started out with like a darker gray, and then started to use the black, and then adding some of that across the top of his head because that's got a lot of coloring, and in the body. And here I'm blackening the eyes and the pupil with the black. And you can still see, I'm not trying to cover up the background completely, as you see. I mean, you can still see a lot of the background through now, which I'm fine with. It, I think it's, it just adds interest to the drawing, that you can see some of that background through the owl. And again, I'm adding this black around just to add some variety to the owl, so it's just not all one, color or whatever. And darkening up around his beak. And at this point, I was like thinking, wondering how I'm going to do the white, because there's a lot of white on him. And I have a pen that I usually use, a white Signo pen, and I do think I ended up using that. Yeah, I did end up using that after all. I was debating on whether I should like try to use some white acrylic paint or something else, but I think the white pen ended up working out just fine. So I use that to add in all the white areas on the owl and on his chest there. He's got some more white, and around other areas where it seemed, like he needed a little bit of variety. So again, he's not just all flat and, plain or whatever. And then, of course, adding some highlighted areas on him with the white. And the white on either side of his beak makes him look like he's got a mustache. It's kind of funny. And I'm trying to get the eyes more orange, but I had to go over them several times. And because that green in the background really was, it wasn't really, I was having a hard time getting them to look as orange as I wanted them to look. So I did go over them a couple of times and finally, was happy with them. And so yeah, I'm just continuing to add some variety. Like on the tops of his ears, it was just a flat color. So I'm like, well, we need to add some variety there, and then some more around his face. Because they're not gonna be like just one flat color. There's gonna be some variety in the coloring of on the animal. So that's what I'm trying to do here, is just make it so that there's variety and touching up areas. So that's pretty much the drawing for today. I hope you guys like this video. If you do, you can give me a thumbs up. You can also leave me a comment or a question. If you have a question, I'd love to hear from you. Or you could subscribe to my channel to see more. I appreciate you stopping by and checking out my videos, and I hope that they're inspiring and helping you to get more creative. And so, yeah, I signed this and date it, and that's it for today. Thank you, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.